All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our NAWBO virtual program. And we are pleased to hear from our NAWBO member, Cassandra Faurote, today on how to manage the shift in the potential employment market after COVID-19. Cassandra is the CEO and founder of Total Reward Solutions, and her company provides consulting services in compensation, performance management, and reward recognition programs. So Cassandra, I will turn it over to you to get started. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Jessica. Really appreciate NAWBO Indianapolis giving me the opportunity to share my research today and my thoughts on this topic. We will be using the raise hand function today and also chat. And please, if you have any questions as we go, put those in the Q&A section. We have a lot of time at the end to answer questions. And then finally, we've got a couple surprises coming during the presentation, so stay tuned. So what's on our agenda for today? Well, we're going to cover what we know. We're going to talk about the economic landscape, staffing, compensation and workplace culture, and then attracting and retaining top talent. So this crisis, it kind of changes everything, or does it? This severe economic downturn, complete with, almost near record unemployment, usually almost instantly turns an employee market into an employer market. And for those of you who own businesses with employees, this might be music to your ears with a shift to an employer market. We've certainly been in an employee market for quite some time. But normally these shifts happen kind of quarter over quarter, and sometimes can take a few years actually to play out. But this is different. This is sudden. Or is it? So what do we know? Well, the New York Times have reported that more than 20 million people are out of work. And in just February, only 5.8 million lacked work. 40% of the people who were working in February were members of households making less than $40,000 a year, and they had lost their jobs by March. 14.8% of the U.S. workforce filed for unemployment benefits, and that's 38 million people since March. Now, we did just get the released April unemployment numbers, and they did fall to 13.3%. The economy actually gained 2.5 million jobs, and I'm convinced that they probably all came from Amazon. A recent Gallup survey suggests that probably 2 times as many employees have actually been laid off or seen reduced hours as have filed for unemployment insurance. And I think this is possible because there's a lot of gig workers, there's a lot of subcontractors, independent contractors, etc. And the system to file, if that was your situation, was really a mess. And the guidelines really were not very clear. 78% of those who are unemployed expect to be recalled to their jobs. So that's, a pretty good number there. We are seeing employees flex their power, though, in essential businesses. So Amazon, where employees literally took to the streets to protest because they were having to work so closely with some of their coworkers who had contracted COVID. And that was even while Amazon was just scurrying and responding by adding 80,000 new hires. So when we see employee power being flexed, it still feels like an employee market, but high unemployment typically results in an employer market. So who's been hit the hardest? Well, per the United States Chamber, these 5 industry segments have been hit the hardest by the unemployment crisis. So let's now take a look at the economic landscape. So is this a short-term economic disruption? Is it a longer-term one? Or is it even the new normal economic reset? And I think the answer to this lies in specific questions for your business. So is your business closely tied to short-term consumer spending? Is your business part of the person-to-person service economy? Or is your business part of the information-based economy where employees can work from home? So here's some more about what we know about the economic landscape. The Congressional Budget Office expects unemployment rate at the end of 2021 to be 9.5%. So that's just the end of next year, and that's still very high. One of the top economic advisors says that we should not expect the jobless rate to dip down below 5% until 2028. Wow, that's 8 years away. College students who graduated last month will encounter the worst job market in a decade. And based on data from previous decades, what we know is 60% of unemployed workers do not return to their employer. Now, we just heard that 78% expect to be recalled, but history tells us 60% of them do not return. Think about your own business, and if 60% of your people did not return. As of May 2, we had 295,000 people in Indiana receiving unemployment benefits. So a couple of things to think about when we think about the economic landscape. These thoughts come to my mind. Will essential frontline workers expect increased wages? Think restaurants, customer service, manufacturing. Will the workers now demand hazard pay or hero pay for working long hours, or more importantly, working directly with the public? Will we value these typical entry-level roles more in the future? Have we learned how important they are? If you're in a hospitality or a service sector, might your servers now want higher hourly wages instead of relying on tips? As women, let's help other women out in this economic crisis. We've often heard the phrase, think NAWBO first. So use the member directory to find other women business owners and provide the services that you need and utilize them. All right, we're going to see how many folks are out there and ready to respond. So I'm going to ask the very first person who can raise their hand on screen. Go. Sarah, are you seeing this? Because I can't see it on my end.
No one has raised their hand as of right now.
Okay. I tell you what we'll do then. I'm going to
There we go. You got one.
There we go.
You got one.
Okay, yay, somebody's out there. All right, David, I'm going to take your name down, and you are a winner of a Starbucks gift card, and I'll reach out to you for that. Thank you. All right, let's move on to staffing. So while some businesses have failed or they're in danger of failing, some companies are rushing to hire new workers and they can't get them. According to a recent ERI survey, 5% of organizations increased their workforce, 66% had no change at all, and about 23% decreased staff. Now, Amazon just announced that they're turning 125,000 of their new temporary hires into permanent ones. So the likelihood that employees will retain their relationship with their employers through the pandemic is really going to be crucial to how quickly the economy recovers. In the ERI survey, 15% of employees who report being laid off actually say it is unlikely that they will return to their job after this crisis is over. So think about losing 15% of your workforce. So you can lessen this effect on your business by investing in the employee-employer relationship. I'm going to suggest you need to court your current employees so that you do not lose them. Conduct stay interviews with them. Take the pulse of each individual employee. You know, you can do one-on-one virtual coffees. You can hold virtual office hours, do one-on-one calls, even host a happy hour where nobody's allowed to talk about business. There also is a new tool out there, or at least it's a free tool that I was able to find. And I think this is really helpful in surveying your staff and getting a feel for where they are right now in all of this. Amplify actually has a free employee survey out there. And you can find that at emplify.com. That's EMPLIFY.com/well-being. And that's all one word, well-being. I also found an organization called dorisresearch.com, and that's DORIS, dorisresearch.com. And they had a lot of good free resources about re-entering the workplace. So you might want to check out both of those. For those companies that are part of the essential economy, they've been rushing to hire new workers. And, by the way, that might give employees some bargaining power. We all know that searching for employees is costly, and new employees take time to train and develop before they're productive, as our seasoned employees are. This need to balance current and future staffing with revenue falling for many businesses is really going to be difficult. Will you need as many staff members in a weakened economy? Do you need the same type of staff members? Maybe what you've figured out is now you need different types of people and different skill sets than you have today. And if you do need to find employees, can you get them to come work for you? Can you get them to the return if they still have these lingering concerns over personal safety and health? And most importantly, will employees want to return while they're making the extra money on unemployment? So it's important that you develop a strategy to backfill your bench of high impact positions with some top performing talent. I actually talked with a business owner in the last 2 weeks who is having to replace a 3-year employee because they indicated they do not want to come back while they're making more on unemployment. In the IBJ in recent weeks, I don't know if you saw this story, but an owner of a house cleaning business literally had to double pay to lure her employees back. So I'm going to ask you to raise your hand right now if you have employees that have indicated they will not yet return to work because of how much they're making on unemployment. Raise your hand if you're in that position and you have heard that from your employees yet. Okay, good. I am not, nope, we got a couple that went up. So just know that this issue, it may not go away July 31st, because if employees have saved the extra money from unemployment, then they might not be quite ready to return to work for a few more months. So let's talk about a couple of ideas or potential solutions for staffing issues. First of all, you're going to have to be really creative in your scheduling. You want to try working them maybe every other day, every other week, staggering smart start and end times, or even doing 1% of the time virtually. And you may need to do that anyhow, depending on what schools do this fall. I know we're all kind of anxiously awaiting to see what's going to happen with that. And you, if you have employees who are coming in the office, then you want to have the same ones working together on as regular a basis as you possibly can. And if you have an open office seating, you also might try assigning seats for a while so that they're always sitting next to kind of the same person. You also may actually need to incentivize employees to return to work. Yes, I really said that. Incentivize them. If you have specific talent that you need, you might have to spend a little bit more to get them back in the office if you really need them there. We have some employers that are actually paying for childcare if that is what is preventing them from returning to work. Just keep in mind that another employer might be willing to let them work remotely or subsidize childcare to get them back in the office. We're going to cover a lot more about working from home in the next section. And then the other idea would be to install plexiglass between workstations to ease health concerns. I actually know a company who is doing this because as they were talking with employees about concerns coming back, that is something that they asked for. And yet another idea is to consider hiring gig workers. If you don't have full-time work in a certain area, more and more people are starting to gig, and they're picking up several assignments from different employers to get to the total number of hours that they wish to work every week. Matter of fact, a recent ADP Institute survey says that 1 in 6 workers are actually gig workers paid from a 1099, or they're a short-term W-2 for just a 1 to 6 month period. And finally, this is just an excellent opportunity for NAWBO business owners to help other NAWBO business owners once again. If you need to let employees go, help them find work, potentially with other NAWBO business owners. And if you need someone, reach out to your NAWBO sisters first to see if maybe they have someone with the talent that you need that they unfortunately have to let go at this time. And you could also share a resource. You know, maybe 2 of you need a marketing person 20 hours a week, and you could just share that person. How will this crisis alter the workplace culture and compensation landscape? So we're going to talk about compensation first. And, you know, will this new employer market drive down employee wages? And, you know, history says it will. Or will employees still be able to flex power and drive wages up? It really remains to be seen. But many companies have had to make compensation changes. So I'm going to ask you to use the chat function, and I would like for you to type in if you have increased wages, if you have continued as planned, froze wages, or reduced compensation. So again, that's have you increased wages, continued as planned, froze wages, or reduced compensation. If you could use that chat function, and let's see what you're saying. And that chat function can be found under your More on your bar there. Okay, I see a reduced. All right, let me share with you some statistics from an ERI survey. So about 7% of organizations have actually increased compensation. 50% have continued wages as planned. Almost 11% froze pay. And then there was another 15% who reduced compensation. And then we had those who were still undecided, and that was about 18%. We've also had 52% of our organizations take executive pay cuts, with an average decrease of almost 16%. This time I'm going to ask you to use the raise hand function if you as a business owner have had to take a pay cut during the coronavirus. All right, we have a couple of hands going up. Thank you very much for those responses. So there were 3 industries that actually had pay decreases greater than 15%. And that included what's referred to as the hospitality, entertainment, and gaming industry, as well as the construction industry and the retail wholesale industry. And that's also some of the same industries that we looked at in the beginning who were hit the hardest by unemployment. So some potential solutions that we're seeing for compensation is allowing employees to job share so as many as possible can keep earning. Defer salary increases. Some are going to a 4-day work week, and I've got more to come on that here in just a little while. Cutting salaries at the top level. And some are even paying bonuses for a number of different reasons, but also to ensure that they can meet their salary forgiveness numbers and their PPP loan forgiveness. Please be sure though to check the latest guidance on that before using bonuses as a permissible compensation deduction in your PPP loan forgiveness. As we all know, those rules change about daily. And then just a reminder, if you have non-exempt employees that you're giving bonuses to, if those employees are also earning overtime, then you have to recalculate their overtime compensation when you hand out bonuses. And all of the payroll systems do that quite easily, but just don't forget about that. Another area in compensation that we're seeing needing just a lot of adjustment due to the pandemic is incentive and bonus plans and how those payouts are being handled. So did you already distribute your 2019 payouts prior to the pandemic? And if not, can you now afford to? And if you can't afford to, then well, what is your liability if you can't make those payments? And are those pre-pandemic plans still in place? You're most definitely going to need to revise them moving forward. And your sales employees on incentives or commissions are going to need revised goals, and they're going to need some ramp up time to get that pipeline flowing again. And then actually some organizations are providing additional benefits during this time. So here were the top 3. As you might imagine, work from home, it was about 59%. Additional paid sick days was about 34%. And then 8% were offering additional health care benefits. And I thought, well, what is that? So I actually went and looked, and what that was referring to was access to telemedicine, as well as things like remote yoga classes as a couple of examples. And the most frequently stated change that would come permanent was work from home. And what about compensation programs for remote employees? So, you know, in most cases, companies' philosophies and programs and processes for compensation have been built around that presumption that, you know, people are working side by side in some physical company workplace. And when that's no longer the norm, you know, will employees give up certain perks or financial incentives when remote working is perceived to be a perk and an incentive? All the money that we might potentially be saving on office space if we are allowing more people to work from home could be used to help compensate employees more if your compensation isn't in line with the market. You know, maybe this could be the time to fix any pay inequities that might exist in your business. As women, you know, we should be the leaders in this area and ensure that we don't have any pay inequalities in our businesses. And the workplace experts have predicted the rise of home-based employees for actually some time now, but this pandemic really hastened this reality. So we're going to look at some data from a global workforce analytics survey about work from home, and there's a lot of information to unpack here. So overall, 68% of employees said they're very successful working from home. But however, there were some differences in how the different generations responded. So our silent generation also agreed 68%, but our boomers said 73%, Gen X said 72%, but listen to this. Gen Y's dropped down to 59%, and Gen Z 44% that believed that they were successful working from home. And I think those last 2 generations might be missing the social interaction perhaps more than others, but we don't know that for sure. So while 88% of employees worked from home on a somewhat regular basis during the pandemic, 31% of them were already working from home on a regular basis. And 61% of employees said they were satisfied with remote work success factors. And what they said was there was great success if they had the skills, the tools, the resources, and a good home work environment. And other highly rated success enablers were high quality collaboration with remote colleagues, feeling closely connected, a suitable, quiet place to work, the self-discipline to work remotely, and then listen to this one, my manager trusts me to work remotely. So 70% of leaders say that work from home is the same or better for their team's work performance. And 70% of employees feel that they are fully productive working from home. So much so that 40% of them are willing to give up their assigned office space for the opportunity to work from home more. So what percent of people want to work from home after the pandemic, and for what period of time? Well, 76% of them want to work at least 1 day per week or more, but actually it was 2 to 3 days that were preferred. Our silent generation wanted the least amount of work from home at 1.5 days. Boomers were 2.4, Gen X 2.5, Gen Y 2.2, and Gen Z 2.1. But this is really interesting. 16% of them don't want to come back at all. 77% of all employees are satisfied with the flexibility and balancing their work and non-work while working from home. And 69% of them are very happy about their well-being when working from home. So as you think about allowing employees to work from home more, be sure that you check in on their technical setup at home. Do they have an adequate screen for viewing for hours on end? And some employers are actually providing dollars to do a home office setup. And even some are providing dollars for fitness at home. So, employers who have claimed that there was just no way, work from home can work, have learned it can. And people are just as, if not more, productive working from home. All right, time for a quick check-in again. First person to raise their hand in the raise hand function, go. Melinda, thank you very much. Melinda, if you would either put in the chat function or my contact information will be at the back of the presentation, your email, so that I can get your information to also send you a Starbucks card. Thank you so much for participating. All right, another alternative to work from home or in conjunction with work from home could be a 4-day work week. So 15% of organizations in the US are actually offering a 4-day work week for all or part of the year. And some compress that standard 40 hours into 4 days. And then, believe it or not, some simply lop off 1 day. And many of them don't cut pay. One organization tried this with 2,300 employees, and they saw a 40% increase in productivity. And actually, I found this statistic very interesting. 70% of employees say they could get their work done in less than the typical time allotted. And as a matter of fact, 45% of them said it would take less than 5 hours a day to do their jobs if they were able to work uninterrupted. This could lead to substantial reduction in operating cost and greater gender diversity in the workplace, as women candidates typically, look for industries that offer better hours and work-life balance. And as many of you are women business owners, I'm sure you already know this, and I'm guessing you probably offer more flexibility than a lot of businesses do. Now, of course, this situation doesn't necessarily work for everyone, but a lot of medical offices do this. And matter of fact, another study found that when nurses' shifts were reduced to 6 hours a day, the nurses were happier, better rested, and more productive. Now, of course, they had to hire a few more to cover the shorter work week, but think about how you might use this option in your business and just get creative. Maybe you could do a 4-day work week every other week so that some of the staff are in the office on Friday, but it's not your normal staff levels. And here's some real food for thought, okay? Are more employees going to demand to work from home or a shorter work week because they enjoyed a much more balanced life during the pandemic? And can you reasonably accommodate that increased demand? Salesforce recently announced that all their employees can work from home through the end of the year. And Twitter just announced that their employees can continue to work from home permanently. So will you need to allow for more work from home or shorter work weeks to accommodate daycare issues or to retain your top performers? Because your competitors will. And are your leaders prepared to lead remotely? Will they need training and coaching on how to lead remotely? And are they ready to embrace a more flexible talent management approach? This is going to be a big issue for a lot of your managers. As women, we tend to be better people managers, and studies show this. I didn't make it up. But do we still have biases about work from home? Your people are your true business distinction. So keep learning about how to manage remotely. Now I'm going to ask you, if you would, to raise your hand if you are going to allow more work from home after the pandemic than you did before. Okay, good. I see a couple of you definitely are. Great, thank you. All right, our final agenda item today is attracting and retaining top talent. So what type of employees will you need to remain competitive and profitable moving forward? It's your top talent. And how are you going to attract and retain them? Employee retention is going to be challenging in the wake of staff reductions and staff changes. And will your top talent remain loyal once the economy stabilizes? Because truly top talent, they can get a new position even in an employer market. I actually have a good friend who started a new position 2 weeks into the pandemic. And do you know if your wages are competitive, and especially for your top talent? You know, when was the last time you market benchmarked your jobs utilizing a professional who does this work? And have you identified who your essential employees and top talent are at each level in your organization? And what are you going to do to retain them? You could definitely recognize exceptional contributors during COVID with some spot awards. So utilize all these ideas that we've discussed today: creative scheduling, work from home, reduced work week, dollars for childcare, retention bonuses, and just many others, and do whatever it takes to keep your top talent. Because believe it or not, your top talent is being poached in the current market. I've had discussions with recruiters, and this is happening. And reward and recognition is also important to top talent. So according to Bamboo HR, 1 in 5 employees would prefer a promotion to a higher title without a 3% increase in salary instead of a 3% raise in salary without a promotion to a higher role. So you know your employees best and which one they would value more. Employees love perks. And here's the ones that they prefer: monetary bonuses, Visa and American Express gift cards, extra vacation days, gift cards to specific retail establishments, and brand name products like gadgets and jewelry and clothing. And I will share with you, the best manager I ever had, and she was a woman, asked me one day, she said, if I had $100 to reward you with, what would be the top 3 things that you would want? And then guess what? She rewarded me with those things when I got a reward. And it meant a lot to me because they were things that I valued and I wanted. The frequency of positive recognition determines how satisfied employees are with their job. Now, I was a little surprised at these statistics, but 94% say they want recognition daily. 85% said weekly, and 80% said a few times a month. So again, get to know your employees well and how much recognition they need to feel satisfied. I'm going to ask you to use the chat function one last time and tell me yes or no. Do you think that women do a better job recognizing employees? All right, I'm going to give that just another second. It looks like that more would say yes. Some say it kind of depends on the woman. So appreciate that. Thank you so much. So let's just be creative. I have seen rewards for a group flower arranging class. This was for a group of women workers, to a commissioned painting to hang in the corporate offices for a project team that did a very successful long-term project with a plaque on the wall that had their names on it acknowledging the team members. So will the coronavirus, whoops, so sorry, pandemic turn, what has been a long employee market into an employer market? And I really think it's kind of too early to tell. There are still so many factors in play. So you're going to have to take a closer look at your industry and your competitive marketplace and begin to see how those factors might affect your organization in both the short and the long term. But regardless of the duration of this event, employers are going to have to rapidly adapt to be among the marketplace survivors. And this rapid shift in where and how we work is going to necessitate new methods of attracting and retaining and motivating and compensating workers. And tried and true compensation programs that may have previously only required modest yearly updates, they may now need to be substantially overhauled. But at a minimum, contingencies should be established for this new normal that is likely to follow the crisis. It's now time to move our mindsets to, we need to get a task completed versus I need to hire a person, and explore all alternatives to getting the work done. So challenge yourself to try different things. What do you have to lose? All right, we are going to take just a few seconds here, actually a few minutes, and answer any questions that you might have. So if you have any questions, please go to the question and answer section and enter those at this time. All right, I am not seeing any. Therefore, let me say to you that I hope you found this information helpful today. If you want help adjusting to these new norms, both during or after an economic crisis with compensation or total reward changes, we're going to offer a special rate for 2 weeks to NAWBO Indianapolis members. And this is a much reduced rate, but we really want to be able to help any NAWBO business owners who might want help in this area during this crisis. So I'd like to leave you with this thought. The future has not been written. Make the future what you want. Don't give it away. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica.
Thanks, Cassandra. That was very informative. I really appreciate you doing this for us. And just as we continue with our Wednesday virtual programs, here's what's coming up next week, June 17th. And I have to read it or I will mess it up. It's funding opportunities other than PPP loans during COVID-19 with Evan Tester and Delana Heath from Renew Indianapolis. So to find out more, just or to register, go to the social media pages or our newsletter, and you should be able to find it there. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon and connecting in person soon too. So everybody have a great day. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.